too bad. You won't regret it, no, no. Some girls, they don't forget it. Love is their home. Happy independence, yeah. Sweet, sweet, sounds so sweet, don't you agree? Sweet, don't leave us, never leave us. I invent sweat, popping bottles, putting supermodels in a cab. Proof, I guess I got my swagger back.
What's going on, America and the rest of the world? I'm at the Kingdom Gym here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and we're going to do our latest documentary on the great Ivan Mighty Robinson. Ivan Robinson is a great friend of mine. I've been knowing Ivan Robinson since he was probably about 9 years old. In fact, he was the very first person I met when I came into the boxing gym all those years ago. Ivan was the United States boxing champion. He was the North American boxing champion. He was a top-ranked amateur fighter. He had 2 great fights with Arturo Gatti, as well as he competed against Julio Cesar Chavez and a bunch of other really, really good fighters. So with that said, bam! Folks, you can't even talk about Ivan Robinson without talking about the guy who got it cracking with Ivan Robinson, his father, James Robinson. This is the man, my first day at the 23rd Pals. I met Ivan Robinson and his father, James Robinson, at the same time. Sir, take it away.
Ivan is prototype fighter.
Right.
You know.
And what do you mean when you say the prototype fighter, sir?
He's a kid that came up at maybe like 1 year old, 1.5 years old. And he used to see me look at tapes.
Okay.
You know. And he watched the tapes. And he used to like pad work.
Okay.
So, and I used to watch Ali a lot.
Okay.
Because I like boxing, you know, moving around. And for heavyweight, I watch. And he used to see that. He used to jump around at 1 or 2 years old, moving his legs. And I saw that in him, you know, how he was moving. He had different movements from a kid was trying. It just came natural with him.
Right.
So after he started doing that, I said, well, I got to get him a little something. So I went over in Mays Landing, and his aunt took him over there, and he got to working out like that in their yard.
Okay.
So she said, and her husband was a fighter back in the day. You know?
Okay. What was his name, sir?
No, I don't know his name.
Okay. So long ago.
Hey, old. They old people, you know. But anyway, she gave me a little bag, a plastic bag, you know, like round, and like it was a pocketbook bag.
Right.
So I took it home and put it in the basement and hang it up. I said, "Now this is something you got to hit." He was like 3 years old.
Okay.
But he learned the movements and how to be swift in the house, because every day he used to come home. I used to lay down in the bed, and he used to come and grab my hand at the bed, and boom, boom. He wanted to always jab.
Okay.
And so I told him, I said, "Well, throw the right hand." He threw the right hand. I said, "Well, that's looking pretty good, you know." So he did that for a period of time, every day, you know. So I said, when you get old enough, I'm gonna take you to the gym.
Okay.
You know, and see what you do, you know. So he said, okay, Dad.
He's got his hands full here with Robinson, a young man who is a boxer with very, very quick hands.
I mean, he got like 4 years old. I started working with him, putting stuff in the basement, bags and all that. He used to go down there every day. And boom, my wife used to say, there he goes again. Down there hitting that bag. I goes down there, and there he was. Pat, 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 moving around. A lot of that stuff comes natural to him, you know. Pat, pat. You know what I'm saying?
Ivan Robinson is 18 years old and a senior at Simon Gratz High School in Philadelphia. His plans are to attend Penn State University and one day to become a world champion. But Robinson is no fluke. 2 very impressive decisions in both the quarterfinals and semifinals, winning by scores of 4-1 to get.
Here's the official scoring. The winner of this bout will be the IBF Junior Middleweight Champion. Judge Ramirez scores the bout 143-143. Judge John Stewart has it 145-141, and Judge Carol Paulus has it 145-140. The winner by majority decision, the South Philly Demon.
The Demon Drayton. He felt the need to chime in on his young Philadelphian and fellow champion Ivan Robinson, sir. Champ, let's get some feedback from you. We're doing this documentary on Ivan Robinson, one of the guys you inspired by coming through the 23rd pal on your journey to the World Championship, sir.
Oh, Mighty was my buddy, man. He was different. He had a thing to where he grew in the game by watching and looking, And he turned out to be a pretty good guy and fighter.
Right.
Oh, well, he picked up little stuff from me and came back and thanked me for it,
Right. You said he picked up the little tips from you, sir?
Yeah, tips and islanders and stuff like that. And he came back, he thanked me. I said, hey, no problem, man. It's all about learning.
Yes. You inspired a whole lot of people, champ, and I'm not surprised to hear that you inspired Ivan and that he came back to thank you. He's a very humble and gracious guy.
Yeah, because his father was working with him and everything like that. And that just made me feel more like at home,
Right.
Yeah. So I had to share, or it made me share,
Right. Well, you know how it goes, sir. Each one teach one, and you got a chance to learn from the great Marvin Hagler. And some of Marvin Hagler's greatness rubbed off on you, and some of your greatness rubbed off on Ivan Robinson and the rest of us, champ.
Okay, so I'm glad to see that things do work like that.
Right. But thank you very much, champ, for the input on Ivan.
I stopped picking him up from kindergarten.
Okay.
And my mother used to live 26 in Allegheny at Bearson Gym, because down there I was training my brother-in-law, and a few other fighters down there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I took him down there after school. He did his homework at his grandmother's house. She lived about a half a block from there. And this is where he started doing his homework there. Then from school, we go there. When we go home, I put him to bed.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And this is how it was. Then it started growing, and people started watching me, a lot of grown-ups,
Right.
started looking at him and said, this kid doing, man, this kid got a lot of talent. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then I met Johnny Suttles.
Okay.
Johnny Suttles, he was about 6 years old at Bearson. He 6 or 5 years old, he did everything. I mean, he was doing it like it was just like a kid 10, 11 years old, just had the gloves on and was boxing a long time.
Right.
So,
Well, technically he had been, because how old was he at this time?
he was 6.
Right, so he already had 3 years under his belt.
Yeah. So he was like, but I'm saying the movements was a lot different from a lot of kids coming up.
Right.
At that age, And he was doing that and looking real good. So Johnny Suttles, I used to train him upstairs. You had Eddie Goodman, Johnny Suttles,
Joe Collins.
There you go, Joe.
Right.
Joe Collins, and it was another Muffy. What his name? Dark-skinned guy. I can't think of his name. We used to call him Muffy. He had one eye, and they used to be in there and they used to watch. Let that kid get in there and work. You know what I'm saying? He used to work. When John came in the gym and see how he was working. Johnny was small. He was a little guy,
Right.
And seeing how he worked. So Mighty used to go downstairs in the other ring and start playing.
Right.
He said, that's your son? I said, yeah. He said, I love his movements, So I said, well, he said, could I work with you with him? I said, sure. You know what I mean? 2 is better than 1.
His movements so graceful and marvelous, please. My love he has taken away. His movements are graceful and my love he has taken away.
Johnny inside fighter.
Okay.
So I told him, I said, John, I want him to move. I said, I'll tell you what we do. I said, you working to be aggressive, and I working to be a boxer.
Wow. Okay.
So we got that straightened out. So this is how it was, you know. When we worked the corners, we was working on like, hey, when he got to press a fighter, Johnny got him.
Okay.
When I got to, a guy chasing him, I want him to box.
Right.
So we never had a problem with that. Everything was just perfect.
Here now are the principals. First in the red corner to my right, wearing the dark blue trunks with gold trim. He weighs in at 203.5 pounds. His professional record reads 30 victories, 5 defeats, 26 wins coming by way of knockout. He hails from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Here is the challenger, Nate Mr. Miller.
Champ, what is your input and contribution to this project that we're putting together, sir?
Well, Ivan being my cousin, he was an excellent fighter, down to earth. He did what he had to do to get where he got to, and he's a well-liked guy even to this day. The community loves him, respecting, and they follow. Some people follow in his footsteps, especially you. And he's doing a great job as far as training the people at the gym he have them at. So in regards to that, I think he's a overall good guy, a good trainer, respectable guy, and know how to treat the people. So he's a class act in my book.
Well, that's really big coming from you, champ. I appreciate the contribution. What's been going on with the champ? Has the champ been playing the guitar? What's been going on, champ?
Yeah, I'm playing the guitar. I'm still at that. I got a few things coming up.
Hey, man, I love you, man.
All right.
All right, peace. Yep.
Peace out.
Yep. So with no further ado, we're going to turn this interview over to the champ, and we're going to hear about the great Ivan Robinson.
What's good, champ?
It ain't nothing to it, champ. It's all about you, man. First of all, man, I'm honored, man, that you would trust me with your story, and so that I can share your story with my fans, your fans, and boxing fans all around the world. Champ, let's get right at it, sir. I've been knowing you for a long time. When exactly is it, sir, that your father got you started boxing, sir? Because you were sharp at 9, and I know that you probably got started before then. Let's talk to me, champ. Let's go.
Oh man, I mean, you taking me way back. I just hit a landmark like 3 weeks ago. The 27th of February, I turned 50.
Congratulations, champ.
Thanks, baby. Thanks. I think my dad took me to the gym where I first started down Beersers. 1976. I was 6 years old.
Wow, man, shoot, you got time, man. An old veteran, sir.
Yeah, basically. Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, and again, champ, tell us about it. What was it like in those early days when you initially got started? Were you afraid? Did you want to box?
Back in them days, it's a lot different than what it was nowadays. The days now are that, it's kind of hard for the teenagers that were like us when we was coming up. They don't respect their parents at all. They do whatever they want. They yell at their parents. They even fight at their parents. When we was coming up, we respected our parents.
Right.
Even if we was in a one household parent where our mom took care of us, we still listened to her and obeyed her and did what we was asked to do or what we was threatened to do. Nowadays, it's not like that. So me coming up, I think I was pretty unique because I had a mom and a dad.
Right.
My mom stayed home. She was the housewife. She made sure everything from the school work to the house was clean, and my dad was strictly the worker, and he got me and my brothers and took us to the gym. And it wasn't like we didn't want to, we had to. I guess my dad seen something in me at the time. That's why he had me in the gym, and that's why I stayed in the gym. But I actually didn't really know that I was going to be as good as I was until I was like 15. Then when I became 15, then that's when I decided that I really wanted to take this seriously. But I still didn't know if I wanted to turn pro yet. I didn't know I wanted to turn pro until my final year of high school. When I was traveling, I pretty much didn't even stay in high school because I was doing a lot of traveling trying to make that 92 Olympic team. And back then, you know, teachers, they kind of favored you. They kind of looked out for you. You know, they knew that I was away a lot. So by saying favored, they gave me a lot of my homework. So I had to have a tutor with me throughout the whole time, which was cool. You know, they made me stay on top of my schoolwork. And then I was strictly into the boxing. So ain't nothing was going to distract me from boxing.
And that was one of the questions. So again, a lot of these, and it's great to hear you talk about how your teachers gave you special assignments that allowed you to successfully graduate from high school. Tell the audience, especially the young people, what it was like to be a top-notch world amateur, but not just being a top-notch amateur boxer. I want you to tell these young people out here that's watching what it was like with your homework curriculum. How did you, when you got your homework, did you have to mail your homework in because there was no internet at the time? But tell these young people what it was like being a top-notch amateur athlete. You're not hooked up with the curriculum like the basketball players and the football players, or anybody that played school sports. You are strictly on a solo endeavor. So tell us what it was like to get your education while traveling the world and competing as an amateur boxer on a United States boxing team.
Well, you know, it was back then it was great because I came from a family that my mom and dad, you know, they were strictly on. My mom was, oh my God, my mom was strictly on school. It didn't matter if I was a world champion, amateur or not. She wanted me to get that homework done, and she spent a lot of time with me with my writing and stuff. Honestly, I think I had one of the best handwritings as a young man there is. So she spent a lot of time with me doing that. As far as my education with school, it came to a point that, you know, back then the teachers were, I don't want to say favorable, but they understood that what my curriculum was, what my goal was, where I was going. Right. They seen it, you know what I'm saying? After fighting in the tournament, I would come home with the gold medal. It wasn't like I was being shy about it or being nasty about it, but I used to take it to school and show it to my teachers, right. Show it to all my guys in my class. And I think I earned a lot of respect from my classmates, from my teachers, from the principal, from just the city of Philadelphia and even the neighborhood of Nicetown. You know, so it was lovely to be able to actually go to a training camp and knowing that I had homework that I had to study for, get ready for. Sometimes it was kind of hard because sometimes back then you had to fight twice a day, and that was crazy. You got a class project that needed to be done in a week, and you fighting 3 days in a week. It was crazy. I sometimes I didn't know how I did it, but I did it. You know, my mom and dad stayed on top of me. My mom always called me, you know, called the dorm to make sure that I was working. You know, I had some of my teachers call me, but I had to make sure everything was mailed in back in at the right time for it to get marked and everything. And, you know, it was just great. It was great to be, I guess, loved at that time. You know, a lot of people loved me. I got a lot of love from a lot of people. Teachers helped. You know, of course, my mom and dad helped. You know, you was one of the guys that I looked up to. You know, my man Fast that's in the gym with me now. You know, it was just a whole lot. So that helped me escalate to where I needed to be. And at that time, I was trying to make that 92 Olympic team.
It takes a village to raise a child, and the village that nurtured Ivan Robinson were Mr. James Robinson and your mother, who I've never met. But also, name some of your teachers or the people at the school who supported you and were very supportive and instrumental in you getting your education. Because again, a lot of fighters don't focus on their education. A lot of people think that they're gonna go to the NFL or go to the NBA, and you know, they don't really put a lot of emphasis on their education. And I want you to put a special emphasis on these adults that were in your school that helped you graduate. What year did you graduate?
89.
89. I want you to tell me who were some of these people who were instrumental in you getting your high school diploma.
Well, first of all, my elementary teacher, Miss Thomas, she was my 6th grade teacher. She was a very, very wonderful teacher, but she was very, very strict on me. She knew what I wanted to do. My junior high teacher, it was crazy. Mr. Mass was my junior high school teacher over in Gillespie Junior High School. Those years was great years. You know, and then in high school, it got even greater. I had a gentleman that I had in biology class named Mr. Feldman. I ain't know jack about biology. I mean about chemistry at all. But you know, he walked me through it. When I had to go away for weeks, because sometimes I had to go away for weeks, I had to go away for months. You know, he had all that stuff arranged and ready for me. Gave it to me in pamphlets, told me what I had to do, how I had to do it, when it had to be turned in. Him and my dad stayed connected with each other all the time. He made sure that my dad knew when my assignments was done. My dad called me and let me know when my assignments was done, when they needed to be done, where I needed to send them. So you know, it was a great situation for me to be in. I loved it. Plus, my dad was the type of guy back in those days. Your parents could come out to the school and put you behind in class, and it was just like my dad was like that all around guy. No matter what, I think my dad sometimes is more popular than me because of the fact my dad is known all over the city. They're not known that even in the fact that he's known all over the world. You know what I'm saying? He was known prior to where I ever thought he would be known before I was like 12.
Right.
You know, everybody knew him. He used to come up to the school, pick me up from the school, walk me to the gym. We used to walk to the gym, then go to the gym and train. Then after I trained, I would walk back home with him from the gym. And back then, you know, during the summertime, I used to try to bug my dad like, Dad, I want to press someone. He's like, nah, I ain't buying you that today. I'm like, come on, Dad. He's like, well, you got to go in the gym and show me something. But not knowing that by the time we got out the gym, the store was going to be closed.
Mr. James.
Hey, yeah, he's a funny guy. I love
So Johnny had the wrestling point, I had the boxing point. And this is how we went on and start practicing. You know, they had a lot of fighters down there, but they was a little older. So they had to put rags in the top of his headgear so the headgear would stay on.
Right.
You know, they put him in there and they say, damn. Fred say, this kid could fight. They put him in there and he worked. It wasn't no problem.
Right.
He worked. He was around 7 years old then.
Right.
And everybody liked him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And he just got popular. People just started to follow him. Kids started to follow around him.
Right.
You know, they start growing on him. You know.
Right.
Everybody want to see Mike. So we go to Jimmy Hill's.
Right.
And Jimmy Hill's had shows down there every week. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Every week, every other week, he used to give a show, and he had a lot of. And he made Mighty the headline because a lot of kids wanted to see him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, let's real quick, sir. You guys started out as Mighty Mouse, and then you made the transition.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, see, I started calling him Mighty Mouse because he was so little.
Right.
And he was, you know, he had everything. You know, I had a cartoon picture made of him.
Right.
You know, and the girls hollering, because this is where it was. It was Mighty Mouse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, matter of fact, what's his name at, the police officer?
Phil Allen.
Phil Allen, yeah. Phil Allen used to live right around the corner from me. Phil Allen said, what you gonna call it when it get too big? I said Mighty.
There you go.
You know, that's how that name came.
Ah, there you go.
Mighty, you know. And ever since then, it was just Mighty.
Right.
You know?
One thing about my dad that I loved about my dad, he let me be a kid.
Okay.
Even though, you know, it was all about boxing.
Mm-hmm.
But he let me be a kid. Like, he would let me, during the summertime was my time off.
Mm-hmm.
He would let me do whatever I wanted to do. Play basketball, play football, play baseball.
Right.
Whatever it was that I wanted to do, he would let me do. But when it was time for me to get in the gym and train, oh, he was brutal, very brutal. You know, and I think also I love and thank that's what made me such a great champion, a great fighter, and it's just trending over to me being a great trainer now.
Right.
How you doing? My name is Nicole Dennis. I'm the owner of Kingdom Boxing Gym. Ivan Robinson is our lead professional and high-level amateur boxing trainer. It all began with my son, who just turned 11 years old, my son King. He's the reason why I bought this boxing gym and named it Kingdom. My son was a boxing student here for about 2 years. My son has autism, and I brought him here to this gym under the guise of under the ownership of the former owners. About 2.5, almost 3 years ago now, for the purpose of him developing his language skills, his interpersonal and social skills, and him overall developing as a child. And we had tried basketball classes, it didn't really work out. We tried football, it didn't really work out. I didn't feel as though trainers had the patience to give the one-on-one supports that my son needed, being an autistic child and having some developmental delays at the time. So I more or less stumbled into this gym back in December of 2018 with my son. And my son met Ivan Robinson, and my son immediately fell in love with boxing. Throughout the 2.5 year time period that he was a student here with Ivan, I watched my son's language skills improve drastically. I watched him start to work with other children and engage with other children and communicate with them. He allowed Ivan to make physical contact with him, and that might seem a little bit odd, but if you know anything about autistic people, you'd know that very often they prefer to not be touched. And then I started to see him not only improve in terms of his development, but he very quickly started to catch on to the fundamentals of boxing, and he was very, very skilled.
Mighty Ivan Robinson, man, I remember him as a young kid, a little kid, coming into the 23rd boxing gym. So that's where I trained at, and he, in the beginning of his beginning, was there. We were much younger, you know. I was about 11 or 12, and Mighty was like maybe 9 or 10 years old, and that's where I first seen him. But back then, Ivan was a good little fighter, man, you know. He was in the gym with his dad and his grandfather, Mr. John. And those were the ones that really taught him the skill and the art of boxing, you know what I mean? So I seen him develop at a very young age. Matter of fact, he and I, we used to box. Like I said, I was a little older than him, but nevertheless, he learned not just from me, he learned from many other fighters. And our gym had a whole collage of great fighters, man, like James Gilliard, named Bub, and had Rocky and Tussie, and my brother Karate, and Joel Hobson, and we had many other great fighters, you know, and being under those fighters, it kind of helped develop him, because he was able to see fighters that was older than him, and of course we helped groom him, you know, along with his dad and so forth. So being under, like I said, that type of atmosphere, just when I see him now, you know, or I've seen him later in his career, I seen that, okay, he learned, he listened and he learned.
You know, so I had some great experiences through my career. Guys like you, Fats, Mr. Boogaloo Watts, Buster Drayton, Tyrone Crawley, late great Tyrone Crawley. You know, I grew up with all those guys, even though I'm the younger of the crowd, but I'm an old man now. But it was great going in the gym, watching those guys, even working with Tyrone Crawley Sr. at the time. I'm glad that you sitting here talking to me so I could, you know, really bring them out. Because I do a lot of interviews, right, but this is definitely different from any other interview that I've done.
Well, one thing I wanna say that I know. First of all, you had an outstanding amateur career. The Goodwill Games, the World Amateur Championships, the U.S. Amateur Championships. I believe you were even a alternate.
Yes, I was.
On the 1982 Olympic team. 1992. The 1992 Olympic team, sir. First and foremost, starting from the top, sir. How many amateur fights did you have, sir? And walk us through your amateur boxing career. Tell us about some of the guys that you squared off against. Take it away, sir. Let's go.
It's crazy. A lot of people that you know.
How many
that
fights,
I know,
sir? Let's start with the fights.
That's
what
I'm saying.
Number five,
a lot of people say I had over 100 fights, but my dad said I didn't have no more than 90.
Okay.
You know, I fought here in Philadelphia at the time. It was called the ABF Nationals. ABF National Regional Tournaments here. I fought like 4 or 5 times here. Won it every year. My final year my final 2 years. The first year I went and lost in Washington D.C. and it was crazy. I lost to Sean Bay Mitchell.
The champion.
Yes, and that was the first time I fought in the Nationals with guys older than me. But I told him that I would redeem myself and come back and knock him out. And he told me that I was a kid. I couldn't do it. I came back the next year and knocked him out.
Wow.
So, you know, that happened. Then I went to it was crazy. The following year, I goes to the Golden Glove Nationals and I run into one of my nemesis that I never thought that I would run into. And that was Oscar De La Hoya.
Wow.
Yeah, that was
Wait a minute, sir. You're telling me you fought Oscar De La Hoya, the Oscar De La Hoya?
Yes, sir. I fought him 3 times.
Give it to me, sir. I need to hear this, sir. This is news to me. I never knew that you fought Oscar De La Hoya, sir.
Really? I fought Oscar De La Hoya in let me see, 89 in the Pennsylvania Golden Gloves in the finals. I wasn't supposed to make the finals, but I fought him in the finals. He beat me, which a lot of people thought I beat him. 90, me and my dad, we trained for Oscar De La Hoya to beat him because we knew we was gonna get to him. My dad, you know, he just had that much love for me. He knew that I was going to just get to the finals. We got to the finals, but we didn't beat him again. But a lot of people thought I beat him. I definitely thought I beat him. Then I turned around another year later, and I fight him in the Goodwill Games. I wasn't even supposed to be there, but I was there.
Now, is Oscar older than you?
No, he's younger than me.
Okay.
I lost to him then. But, you know, it was okay because I had said that I was the type of person that I'm going to keep trying until I get what I need to get. And the final time that we fought in the Goodwill Games, he said it was just too much for him. He said he couldn't make the weight, and I don't think he wanted to see me no more. But whatever the case was, he moved up to 32. He won a gold medal, and I won my first gold medal. And then from there, I went to the U.S. Championships. I brought home a bronze. I was definitely picked as the #1 guy in the U.S. at 125 to represent the USA Olympic team out in Barcelona, Spain. But they messed around, and some kid named Julian Wheeler from the Navy came and asked me. He didn't beat me neither. But, you know, it happens. A lot of people said I should have been mad, upset, disappointed, which I was. But, you know, that's how the things are. You know, that's how things go in the amateurs. Basically, what happens in the amateurs, they pretty much already got their team made. 90, 91, they pretty much had their team already set that who was going to be there. I don't know why that I wasn't that guy, and it was really a hurt piece that I didn't go because that's all I focused on. I mean, I was mad for one reason because I put in so much time like away from school. I didn't really enjoy my whole senior year of school because I was away so much. You know, I didn't get a chance to go on my senior class
trip because I was away fighting, winning a gold medal, to come back home. But the thing about that was really lovely about it was that everybody enjoyed what I did and they respected me because they also knew it was hard.
Now, for those of you who don't recognize the voice, if you don't know the voice, it is the voice of Howard Cosell that I am emulating here. Take it away, Rob Rayford, about your friend and your stable mate, Ivan Mighty Robinson, sir.
Yeah, Ivan Robinson was sparring partners for about 5 years. He was a great fighter, a real great fighter. He went to fight for the world, a couple of world titles. He had a couple of world titles. I think he fought for IBF. That was one of my best friends. His pop and Mr. John used to come get me every weekend, go running. We trained every day after school. We fought together. We was as a team.
Stable mates.
Facts. Stable mates. He was all stable mates. Me, Mighty, Omar, Wayne.
Omar Muhammad, sir.
Yes.
Omar Muhammad, Rob.
Omar Muhammad. Yes.
Wayne Thomas, a.k.a. 34, sir. You're going to say the names, Rob. How are you going to not remember your teammates?
I didn't remember his last name. I don't remember the last name, so I said his first name. That's okay?
That's okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah, we had a nice little team. Ivan Robinson, he was like the head of the team. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from Derek Burney.
Derek Fats Burney, Rob Rayford. Yeah. Not just Fats, sir. You can't expect the audience to know who you're talking about, Rob. You're talking to the whole world, sir. Derek Fats Burney, sir. Let's get it right there.
Okay,
Rayford.
Derek Fats Burney. There you go. That's right. Mr. Ops?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We even had you. We even had you as a teammate.
Yeah, but you guys, I was a lot heavier than you guys. I didn't box with you guys. One of the best things about boxing for me was I didn't have to get in there and tangle with you guys. You guys were all a bunch of killers. You all were much more disciplined and tougher than I was. You guys were naturally hard and tough guys. I was a cream puff who fought to protect himself from these thugs out in the street. But you guys were a bunch of talented fighters, all of you to like. And I'm proud to call all of you my friends, and I'm proud to be doing this boxing documentary on our buddy, our friend, our brother, Ivan Mighty Robinson, who we call Mighty Mouse.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, folks, we're on the phone with a great fight out of Philadelphia. This man fought 112, champion in Philadelphia. Also, I believe he moved up to maybe 125 pounds as a professional. Ronald Cooley.
I've known Ivan for years. We had one thing in common. His father trained him, and my father trained me. So, that father-son relationship, goes deep. So I can understand the things he would go through sometimes, like he would understand things I could go through sometimes, because it's different when your father is training you than when a regular trainer is training you, because there's love involved in there, and they got to separate that a lot of times when they got you in there. So that tells a long story with all that. But Ivan, I remember as younger watching him grow up boxing and stuff like that, and I always knew he was going to be special. The way he carried himself, the way he was very mature, and he was very pleasant and stuff like that, and he was humble about how he do things. And he was a type of fighter that always loved to learn. He was interested in learning. He caught on very, very fast, and he had one hell of a heart. And he was very confident in himself. And that's what made him so successful. He worked hard, and he believed in himself. He used to come to the gym, the Fraser gym, and box with me sometime, or I used to come down to Happy Hour and box with him sometime. And I was on my game, and feeling myself a lot, as a fighter does. And a couple of times he brought me back down to reality real fast. When I got in there with him, I ain't knew he was as good as he was. I just looked from the outside. But every time I got in there with him, I had to make sure I was on my game. Because, like I said, he brought me down to reality a lot of times, and I learned a lot of things boxing with him. He got me prepared for a lot of fights and stuff like that. He made my fights easier. When I boxed with him, he made my fights a lot easier and everything. So, you know, he's a real outgoing guy, man, and real special too.
And that's
I love him like a brother. Like a brother.
And that's we are brothers at arms, and that's really a tribute coming from you, Ronald Cooley, because you were a few years older than Ivan Robinson.
Yes.
You trained up there with the great Ronnie Hammond and Meldrick Taylor and all those folks.
Yes.
And if I remember correctly, sir, you were the fella that fought with a sneer, almost like the white Muhammad Quarry, a fellow we all know earlier as the White Braxton, sir.
Yes.
You know, that 92 Olympic team, man, was supposed to have been as hot as that 76 Olympic team with Ray Leonard in them.
Right,
You know, and that's what we was looking for. So, like, when I didn't go, I was like, man, look. You know, and like you said, I was an alternate. And normally when you're an alternate, you have to go. And my thing was, if I would have went, I would have had to go against the guy that I lost to. And I knew if I would have went to camp, and we had to spar,
you'd have been beating up on him.
Man, I would have tried.
You'd have tried to hurt him. You'd have tried to get him out of the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that, you know.
Right.
So, man, my dad talked about it. I was like, no, I'm gonna go ahead and turn pro and make money, you know. But you know, I took it in stride, moved on, man, and you know, really, the rest is history.
Yeah, well, the rest is history, sir. But what we need to do, right, as your boxing fans, right, as your public, sir, give us some of this history, sir. Walk us through the boxing career of Ivan Robinson, the highs and the lows, the USBA championship, the NABF championship, the battles with Chavez, the battle with Arturo Gatti. I think you got your most notoriety from that fight right there. But you did put up a pretty spirited fight against I can't think of the dude's name, but you put up but walk us through the career of Ivan Robinson, sir, the boxing career. Let's have it.
Well, you know, I had some great fights along the way. I fought Jesse James Lehigh. I fought Vivian Harris. I fought James Creighton. I fought the great Julio Cesar Chavez. I fought Arturo Gatti. I fought Angel Man Freddy. I mean, anybody really in that lightweight division that was a name, I think I practically fought them, or one or two things. They didn't want to fight me, or they didn't want to give me the money that I felt though that I needed to get to make the fight.
Sir, one thing I like to note, I noticed that I must point out that you have an iron chin, sir. You're one of the few guys that get through boxing without being knocked out, sir.
Hey, well, I mean, I pretty much practice. Well, I gotta give my dad that. He strictly was on me, sold on me about defense. He didn't like me getting hit, and God forbid, I didn't like getting hit. Getting hit is not a great thing. So I pretty much, you know, practice my skill with slipping, dodging, getting out the way, sidestepping my legs. My dad always said that my legs was one of my most valuable weapons in boxing. As long as I ran and did what I had to do, I stayed on my feet, I was good. And that was one of the things I think that made me great. That's why I didn't get knocked out. I didn't really sit around and take no shots. But, you know, later on I'll tell you, but getting hit was not something that I was valuable of doing. But I did get hit a lot in that Gatti fight, and I don't know how I took it. But
well, you wore with Gatti. You wore what you did, sir. You done some rock star shit in that Gatti fight. And what you did, you gave the fans their money's worth, and you went in there and you warred with this man, sir.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was told that later in my career. They told a reporter told me that I was a great fighter, and now that my career is over, and I look at, and that's crazy. I don't really look at fights, but if I sit here like I'm sitting here with you now, and I'm thinking about certain fights, I can see me going through them. I can see me fighting. I can see me getting hit. I can see me not getting hit. All those type of things. But the reporter had told me, he said one thing about you, Ivan. He said you're a great fighter. He said, but you like to please the crowd. You please the crowd too much. And actually, I think he was right, because I remember one fight at the Blue Horizon that I had. Me and the kid was going back and forth. But the thing was, my hand speed was so quick and fast that I could hit a guy with a combination and not be there. But I felt so. Why do I need to move when I can be right there? And taking punishment is not something that any fighter should do. And that's why I try to teach my fighters nowadays not to do.
From Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, North Philly to be exact, undefeated as a professional with a record of 3-0-1, a knockout to his credit, ladies and gentlemen, Ronnie Hammer.
Knockout to beat Ron Hammonds. Hammonds in the blue trunks. He was the one who was cut earlier, but he has off his feet.
Hammonds is tearing his head off every time he hits Goddard.
Will Goddard survived the fight.
Referee's ready to stop this fight.
There was one standing 8 count in the second round. There's the time remaining, 15 seconds.
Just got off the phone with his stablemate, Ryan Cooley. And the reason why I'm talking to these guys today is I'm trying to get some input and some insight on the subject of our documentary, Ivan Mighty Robinson. Now, this man can tell me a lot about Ivan Robinson. He's going to tell me right now. Take it away, Chinaman, a.k.a. Ronnie Chinaman Hammond.
Yeah, man, I remember Mighty Mouse when he was about 9 or 10 years old. He came up to the gym and sparred me. I was about a good 14, 15, so I was a little bigger than he was and a little stronger. But Mighty was always determined to be good, and his father knew he was going to be a good fighter, too. He was always had that, ferociousness in him since he was a kid. And every tournament that we went into some nationals together. He always did good. Coming out, being like the first time in the nationals and stuff like that, he always held himself up pretty well.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Anything else? Any other closing remarks you want to throw in there? China Wisdom, how's the son doing, sir?
Oh man, my son's doing pretty good, man. He's coming along. Keep on praying for him, though. Don't never stop praying.
We got nothing but love for Khalid. China man having a child at 55 or 56 years old. The little boy is worrying him to death. But that's my main man, Pots and Pans, my nephew, and I'm glad it's better you than me, sir.
Yeah, hey man, but get back to Mighty Mouse. He was a hell of a fighter, though. He was a great fighter, and his father knew he was going to be great. And, that's why he pushed him up to spar guys like me at that time.
Right.
Because I was a little bit more advanced than he was at the time, but he still put him in there. And held his own.
Cool.
What's up, Chuck?
I'm on the phone with a fella. He went by the name of Patrick, the Wrath of Can. And this man, I have this man on the telephone here because he's going to give me his intake on his friend and fellow Philadelphian and fellow stablemate from time to time, Ivan Mighty Robinson. And for those of you who don't know why I'm talking like this is not only a tribute to the great Ivan Robinson. I have to inadvertently revert to being Howard Cosell when I talk about my friends and fellow prize fighters, Ivan Robinson, Patrick Can, and anybody else who we might do a documentary on. So, with that said, now that I have Patrick's full attention, you take it away, Pat.
The first time I met Ivan Robinson, I believe it was up at the Happy Hollow, I want to say. And I wasn't really all that, deep into boxing. I started my career late at 21 years old. And, just a really down-to-earth guy. He treated me like I was flat from the door. Right. And then as, we progressed on, every time we saw each other, it was nothing but love. Handshake, embrace, we sit there, we rap, if he was with his dad, I speak to Mr. Robinson and stuff. It was always a beautiful thing. Now, I will say this while it's on the top of my head. My favorite, my hands down best performance by Ivan is when he fought Arturo Gatti. He boxed circles around, boy.
Yes. It was. I think that's the fight that made all of us proud. As with him holding his own against Julio Cesar Chavez. Any humorous stories you want to share, or touching experiences that our Ivan Robinson might have, something that he might have done that the world would find interesting. It's something that you know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't say touching or funny. Ivan was just always the same person each time that we were in each other's presence. I mean, just a warm, loving, respectful individual. Like for example, you know, I'm not downplaying myself, but I wasn't even on his level concerning boxing. But he treated me, you know, he treated me as if I was a future champion or something like that myself. You know, and I always appreciated that. It was no airs with Ivan. He was just always himself. Like I said, he was just a regular Philadelphia type cat who always showed love and respect.
I have on the phone a fella by the name of Kareem Robinson. So what's going on, champ? How you doing, man?
How you doing? I'm doing okay.
Cool, man. Well, we want some insight on your brother from only the perspective of someone like you or your other brother could give them from.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, I'm the youngest. I was 8 years old when I got noticed of who my brother was and what he was and what he does.
Right.
So, you know, I started, you know, hanging around him at the age of, you know, hanging around at the age of 11, watching his career when he turned pro, when he was going like fighting the Olympic trials and, you know, fighting in the Goodwill Games in '92. So I seen all that. So that's what I've been around my brother, Ivan Robinson. You know, and I'm still learning. I'm still learning about who he was and who he is. You know what I mean? He been in the game at the age of 5. 5 years old, he started boxing at the age of 5. I mean, I wasn't even doing it up at the time.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, Kareem. Tell me what it's like, man, to have had a brother that was a great male role model, somebody that you could literally brag. I know your friends got tired of you always bragging about your big brother, man. Tell me about that, man. Tell me about that.
The crazy about it, though, it didn't hit me or who he was until I got in middle school. When people in my neighborhood, they knew who the brother I was. And when he came up to the school and gave a little presentation, because I went to Pickett.
Okay. Okay.
And they had a little special little thing about, you know, about drugs and all these those drugs and, you know, kids stay in school. You know what I mean? You know how they talk to the kids and, you know, I mean, this and that. And I was young, so, you know, a lot of people didn't know who my brother was.
Right.
They didn't know who I was.
Right.
At the time that was my brother. Until after the assembly was over, because it was going to go to after the assembly was over, they announced who brother he is, and they gave me this school right here. And they called my name, and it just, like, from there, it just flashed. It just like, oh, wow. Yeah, your brother is a professional fighter? Wow. I was, you know, I was just like the teachers asking about me, asking how your brother, and asking me about your friends, and asking about, your brother is a boxer, that's decent. It was just an incredible day that I still remember that day. You know what I mean? You know, in my head is that.
Right.
And you know, and ever since then, it's like, you know what I mean, I'm like, dang, my brother is who he is. He's like, you know, he's role model. And kids like saying it to him, and kids asking what it is. I'm thinking, looking at this stuff like, wow, I'm just like speechless.
Yeah, it was something that you took for granted, man, because that's your brother, man. You know, you knew him one way, but then you got other people that say, "No, man, this dude is a hero. He's a public figure."
So my name is Jesse Morales. I know Coach Ivan for a while now. I used to train under him also. He's a great coach. When I started researching his background, I seen a lot of his fight. He was a great fighter overall. I learned a lot off of him. You know, he's a great person overall as a trainer, as a fighter. He used to be. I love his spirit. I love that he helps out kids a lot. Not only was he my trainer, but he also was a person that I would go talk to if I needed advice about anything. You know, as being my age and him being older than me. But you know, he's a great person overall.
I can count on the top. I'm not doing this. Saying to guard somebody for what? Right there. Jab. See? Jab. Now I jab you. I jab you. Jab you. Watch the jab block. Jab that. See? 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 How you doing?
Rick, what's going on, brother? Tell me about the great Ivan Robinson, man.
What's up, man? What's up, man? Coach Ivan, that's my boy. He's a great fighter, former fighter, man. You know what I mean? I just started working with Ivan this year. You know what I mean? He came on board with Team Not Fear Charles, me, his pop, so it was us three. You know what I mean? Ivan, for me watching him back in the day, Ivan was a great fighter, man. You know what I mean? He teaching me a lot, along with the other guys that I was with in the past. He's a very, very good trainer.
I'm here on the phone with Henry Williams, sir. I need you to tell me about your experiences and your opinions of the great Ivan Mighty Robinson. Come on, man, give it to me, man.
Oh man, Mighty Mouse, man. He was a good fighter, a hard trainer. His pop was pushing us, you know, to train hard. And I was really proud of him, man. When I was really proud to see him how he fight. He's so quick. He would tag you, get frustrated. You would really get frustrated. He put them hands on you, man. They was real. It was just like good combinations and everything, man. He used to train hard, man. He used to put his mind to everything, man. His pop really pushed a lot of people, man. So when I saw him fight on TV, man, I was really proud of him, man. I went to high school with him. Yeah, man, I trained since 12. Went to high school, and I used to brag about him. So that's my man. He's like a brother to me. Like, you know. I was really proud of him, man. See him on TV, man. He's a good dude. He's definitely a good dude, man.
Well, you seen him fight a lot of times, Henry. You seen him fight amateur fights. You seen him fight pro fights, sir. What would be probably some of your most notable memories of Ivan Robinson? Talk to me, Henry. Come on, man. Well, let's have it, Henry.
All right, well, really, he used to really win all his fights, and he used to just, like, dominate, man. He dominated. He had knockout power, but the quickness that he put on you would add up at later rounds, man. You get frustrated, man. Be all swollen and everything, man. He used to make people frustrated more than anything, man. He was just so quick, man.
Well, listen.
When he fought on Gotti, man, I was really proud of him. I was bragging. I said, my man, great fight Gotti, great fight Gotti. I'm bragging about it, man. He told Gotti knew back, man. Gotti couldn't touch him. He was too quick.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man. I heard you say you went to high school with him. Is there any notable moments, or perhaps a humorous moment that you can share about your personal experience or relationship? I mean, is it something like he saved a cat from a burning fire, helped the old lady across the street, saved a bunch of people from a drowning submarine all by himself? Anything that you could share with us, Henry?
Oh, he was always looking out for people, man. He always deal with the kids. He just was a nice dude. He wouldn't trade him up for the world, man. Man, that's the way he was. He ain't really never changed.
Well, man,
just the way he was. His father taught him a lot how to be a good young man.
So tell me what it was like, sir. Tell me what it was like, sir. The battles against Julio Cesar Chavez, the great Chavez. The battles against Arturo Gotti, and winning the USBA championship and the NABF championships, or any other championships that you might have won in your boxing career.
Well, let's go back to 89 when I first won my world amateur title in Canada.
Okay.
Man, that was crazy.
Okay.
You know, I'm still young. Of course, I want to be on that level where I want to be crowned as a champion. I never really thought about being crowned a champion in another country. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, you know. Mm-hmm. So when I won, it was like crazy because a lot of the guys that I was with, my buddy Sean Fletcher, They always looking for winning world championships. And the thing about it, they've been on a lot of USA national trips. That was my first trip. You know, and for me to win a title like that was crazy. They gave me so much love. And then the whole thing about it, I grew a relationship with the Canadians middleweight champion, Chris Johnson. Me and him like brothers. He won a bronze medal in the '92 Olympics. I told him that I would see him in Barcelona in '92. We both said we would see each other. Of course, I didn't get a chance to go, but he went, and I'm glad. After that, I fought for the USBA title in Philadelphia. November the 17th, 1994. It was a grueling fight, and we got a decision. We got the win. That was a great thing. I think at that time, when I fought Demetrius Sabalas, what had happened was we got an offer. Well, I'm gonna say we got an offer because, like I said, Eddie Woods was my manager and he was a good guy. I think we got an offer to fight Oscar De La Hoya, and you know I wanted that fight. I wanted that fight bad as ever. But the thing was, you know, at that time, that's where, you know, you gotta also be. At that time, when you turn professional and you in them rankings like that, you're not just much of a fighter, and you gotta be a business guy too, because your livelihood is on the line. It's about you making money, and you want to make the most possible money as possible, and you want to get paid for it. Well, you know, I never really told nobody this. I guess I'm talking to you about it because I feel comfortable talking to you about it. Plus, you know, I've known you for a while. Well, Oscar was going to fight in Los Angeles. And he didn't have nobody to fight. He was looking for somebody to fight. So the thing was, my promoter called me and said, Ivan, I got something good for you on the table. And I was like, well, what's the deal? He was like, I got a fight with you and Oscar De La Hoya if you want to take it. So I'm like, me and Oscar, I think Oscar was ranked like #1, and I think I was ranked like #4 at the time. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, that sounds like a good fight. Let's take it. So it was an HBO fight too. I told some people about it. I didn't tell everybody about it. I don't think everybody knew about it, but I told some people about it, and some people said that I was a fool. But Oscar De La Hoya was he was offering me to fight for $250,000. Now, I'm thinking of myself as a world-class fighter, regardless of what the situation is. And I know Oscar #1 in the world. He getting ready to fight for a world title, but this was just a preliminary fight. He offered me $250,000. I didn't take it. I felt as though I should have got more. So, you know, that was a fight that was off the table. So after I won the USBA title, we was ranked #4. Then I fought Emmanuel Augustus. So I got in the gym, got to working. We took the fight with Emmanuel Augustus. This is the fight that I really knew that boxing was as serious as it was, and I was a top-notch fighter. I fought Emmanuel Augustus. Everybody that know Emmanuel Augustus know that he's called the Drunken Master. This guy is one of the phenomenal guys in the world. He fought Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather said that was his toughest fight ever. A lot of people thought he beat Floyd Mayweather, but you know, Floyd got the decision, whatever. But yeah, we took the fight, man. The kid was the toughest I ever fought in my life, and I'm saying that y'all guys gonna give me this fight before I fight for a world title. But you know, it put me in position.
Did you beat this guy, sir?
Yes, I beat him. I beat him, and this is when I really knew that boxing was pretty much what it was. I got called to camp. Never been in camp a day in my life, except for the camp in Philly that I called camp. I was going to Purnell Sweet Pea Whitaker's camp. Down in Norfolk, Virginia. I went down there. It's crazy. You would never know who I was in camp with. I was in camp with Purnell Whitaker, David Tour, and Arturo Gatti.
Damn.
I know, right? They must have knew something we didn't. You know what I'm saying? So we went down there, and the thing about it, me and Arturo Gotti never sparred.
Right.
Never. This is the first time I'm in a big camp. I'm in a camp with one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. Man, I get down there, man. Now I know for a fact at this time I'm a bad boy. Right. I already know I'm a bad boy. So I never forget the trainer down there was the strength and conditioning coach. Lou Duvin was coming in the next day that me and Pernell was boxing. So the coach Bob Werner said to me, said, "Look here, Ivan. You know, I followed you. I know you're a good fighter. This, that, and that." He said, "But tomorrow you're gonna work with Pernell." I'm like, "I just got here today." He like, "Yo, do you want to stay or you want to go home?" I was like, "I want to stay. I think I got a fight coming up." He was like, "All right, well, you're gonna work with Pernell tomorrow." I said, "Okay, no problem." Also, Junior Jones was in camp with us too because he was getting ready to fight Antonio Barrera.
Okay.
So, you know, the next day came, we in the gym training, you know, everybody sparring or whatever. So now it's time for me and Pernell to spar. After he sparred Arturo Gotti, which, you know, Gotti couldn't do nothing with Pernell. So I'm sitting there looking at Pernell like, yo, man, this guy's really, really good. You know, and I'm already saying to myself, like, I already know I'm good, so I'm not going to have a problem. Man, I get in that ring with Pernell. You talk about acting. You know, you see a person on TV do stuff, and you be saying, I wonder how he do that. No, he can't do it. Man, that stuff Pernell was doing in his fights, he was actually doing on me.
Wow.
I couldn't hit him. I couldn't touch him. He was hit me like 6-7 times, spinning me. I'm like, yo, man, this is crazy. I'm like, are you serious? But, you know, he got me in shape, man. He got me really, 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 really in shape. And, you know, I thought the Philip Holiday fight was close. I thought I squeaked it out, though, because I thought I had won some of the earlier rounds. But the judges didn't give me them early rounds that I thought they did. And I lost a split decision to Philip Holiday, man. It was crazy. I was upset. I knew I was going to be champ of the world. I knew Nicetown was going to have their first champion. I had...
real quick.
Yeah.
I want to touch on something real quick, sir. There's been a Floyd Mayweather, right? I just wanted to say that, put this out there. Floyd Mayweather, whenever you hear Floyd Mayweather talk about him sparring Parnell Whitaker, Floyd Mayweather tries to give folks the impression that he fucked Parnell Whitaker up or that he got over on him. Now, because I know boxing, I'm 100% certain that Whitaker got in there and worked right with Floyd and bullshitted around with him because he was a young kid. And we know that most of the times pros don't try to cut loose on young kids. But give me just real brief, touch on that right there. Give me your opinions of that right there, sir.
Well, I believe that, I mean, Floyd is a great fighter. I can't take nothing away from Floyd.
No, not taking nothing away from him.
I know. Yeah. But, you know, he's done a lot of things. But actually just seeing the type of guy that Pernell Whitaker was and how he could just adjust to certain things, I put my money on it. I know that Floyd didn't get over on Pernell.
No,
I know for a fact that Pernell got over on Floyd, and if Floyd did get over on Pernell, it was because Pernell let him.
Right. Yeah. That's my only, because us as fighters, we know how the game goes. We know that when it comes to, and I think Floyd was an amateur at that time when he was boxing with Parnell Whitaker. So I'm almost certain that Parnell Whitaker didn't go in there and tee off on the amateur, because that's just not the protocol of boxing. You know?
Right. And even though Pernell, I've been in camp with Pernell I was in Pernell camp 3 times. It was crazy too. The first one was mine. It was really my camp. But Pernell was holding camp down there because he was getting ready for a fight. I can't remember who he was. But his last 2 fights that he held camp for, one was for Oscar, and I was shocked that they brought me in for that one. And then the other one was when he fought the Cuban kid and he knocked him out in Atlantic City. This was the kid when Pernell hit the Joker with like 50 straight left hands, and it took the referee forever to step in. And I think they fired that referee at the time. They said it was just unjudgeable the way he took the fight. But I mean, he judged the fight, refereed the fight. But yeah, I can actually, and I know you can. I can actually say, man, Purnell didn't turn it up at 100%.
Folks, how you doing? I'm on the phone with Lemaine Robinson, the brother of the subject of our documentary, Ivan Robinson, son of James Robinson. And this young man is going to tell us what it was like to be the younger brother of the great Ivan Mighty Robinson.
Coming up with my brother, it was good, real good, because I learned a lot, underneath my brother, and my father as well. My father, he's the king. And, I learned a lot from my brother, fighting wise, inside the ring and outside the ring, so that's something that my father always installed in us. And just being around him and having that experience, coming up with him, going to different gyms, seeing him sparring guys, 10, 15 pounds heavier than him, his experience, winning championships in the amateurs and in pro, when he was with my father, the first 20 fights, professional, he was undefeated, with my father.
Right.
It was a beautiful experience, man. I got to see a lot. I got to travel with him a little bit, when he fought, some regional championships and state championships. And it just was a great experience, man.
How did it feel having your brother win championships, and how exactly did it feel to when your brother won the championship? How did it make you feel?
It made me feel like, I said, man, I can do the same thing because it's in our blood, Coming up around my father, and especially me, I always was a universal type of guy. So I liked all sports, mainly martial arts. But boxing was, after seeing my brother doing what he can do, I was like, well, maybe I can, reach that level too, So in a way, he kind of inspired me when I was young, my brother.
Right. And let me ask you a question, because I asked Kareem the same question. I'm sure your friends were tired of you bragging about the accomplishments of your brother. Tell me how it was. Tell me about your friends and how people reacted to you having a brother like Ivan Robinson.
Sometimes you can feel the jealousy, especially in our neighborhood. Mike used to get into a lot of guys trying to test Mike, man, he used to. I mean, these guys was big guys, and they was jealous of him because most guys, was playing football teams and stuff like that, and Mikey was doing something out the neighborhood that nobody wasn't doing in Nicetown. Besides Mildred Taylor,
The great Mildred Taylor, sir. The great Mildred Taylor, sir.
Yeah, exactly, Mildred Taylor. So a lot of guys was jealous. They was jealous of him, and then some guys, they really was, proud of him.
Right.
Proud of, they used to see us walking to the gym, me and my father, my brother, rain, sleet, or snow. My father walked us to the gym, man,
Yeah.
And that's just how it was, man. Some people was jealous, and some people, was proud of him.
Finally, if there's one thing I could ask you, I know you learned a lot from your father, Mr. James, but tell me one most important thing or one monumental thing you learned from your elder brother, Ivan Robinson.
Man, it's a lot of them, man. It's a couple of things I learned from him. One of the best things I learned from my brother though is to always be in shape. Always be in shape. And when he was with my father, he stayed in tip-top shape, man. Most people remember the fights with Gotti and the HBO fights and things of those nature, but my father wasn't with him at that time. When he was with my father, the first 20 fights, I mean, this guy was like a hurricane, man. I mean, this guy was a solid lightweight, man. And I learned that from my father. Always be in shape, man. When you go in there to fight, always be in shape. So he kind of lost that edge a little bit. He still was good, don't get me wrong, because all the skills and training over the years from my father. But he kind of lost the edge when him and my dad parted ways a little bit. But always be in shape and always, and be respectful to people, man, inside and outside the ring.
Everything was good. There's only 2 quarrels that I have in my career, and I'm kind of shocked that you didn't mention it. Maybe you didn't really dig that deep, but maybe you did. I don't know. Maybe once I say it, you'll tell me. I think, and I say this so hardly, and God knows how much I pray on this, man. I think, no, I know for a fact that if I wouldn't have fired my dad, I would be champ.
Well, I didn't know that you fired your dad, sir. I didn't know you stooped that low, sir. I didn't know that you done such a slimy, underhanded thing as fire your own father, sir. I didn't know that you would do something as weaselly and underhanded as cutthroat as fire your dad, sir. Well, yeah. Obviously, some people got in your ear, sir, and they made you cut your own father's throat, sir.
You know, at the time that happened, I was young. I was really young. I was married. And I can actually say one thing about me. I don't mind taking heat for things that I've done, because I'm a man and I live up to whatever it is that was done or how it was done. Now, if I didn't do it, or I'm not gonna admit to it. I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm just, speak my mind and keep it moving. But I was young. I was married. Me and my wife just had our first kid, and my wife and my dad didn't get along. And I figured that if I was going to be a champion and stay champion and do the things that I needed to do, I couldn't have that friction in between my wife and my dad.
Sir, I'm going to say this real quick, right? This is related to the subject, but it's unrelated to the subject, sir. You might not know it or not, sir, but I've been on the internet trolling guys in the manosphere. The manosphere space is basically a space full of black men, and they basically believe in the upliftment of black brothers, sir. But, sir, the guys that run this manosphere, these guys would call you a fucking simp, sir, for firing your dad, okay? Because he didn't get along with your wife, sir. Now, I have to, sir, in the all interest of entertainment, sir, in the interest of entertainment, I have to call you a goddamn simp, sir, for firing your dad, sir, because he didn't get along with your wife, sir. Where's your wife at now, sir? Are you still married to this woman? Are you still married to this woman, sir? I just want to know, are you still married to this woman who you fired your dad over, sir? I just want to know that.
Nah.
Sir, as much as I love you, sir, and I think this is the first time that we've ever had a crossword between us, sir. You are a fucking simp, sir, for firing your dad. I hope this interview doesn't end, but for the sake of entertainment, sir, I just had to put that part in there, sir.
It's okay, because, at the end of the day, it is what it is. I feel some type of way about it, and I think it hindered my career to some point, because there were fights that I was in, that I know that I could have won, but my dad was not there to tell me what it was that I needed to do. I heard him, I heard, and I knew exactly what he would tell me, because we trained all our life together. He trained me for darn near half of my life, half of my career. So there were things that I heard that he said to me while I was in there, but it just wasn't, it just wasn't feasible, because he wasn't there in the present. But still, I think that I had a great career, and I take nothing. I don't hold my dad accountable for it. I don't hold my ex-wife accountable for it. I hold myself for it. But it is what it is. But I still had a great career.
Well, on a serious note, I am surprised to hear that you have fired your dad under the circumstance that you fired him under, because often enough, I do talk to people, and I can understand someone firing a trainer, because there are circumstances where, for example, you might sign with a manager, and this manager may have his own people, his own trainers, and he might say, well, listen, man, we gotta cut this other guy out of the equation, because we have a program that we're running here, and your trainer is not going to fit with the program. Right. And again, I'm done with talking about your dad, but again, because we are on the subject of people firing trainers, it's the irony behind this whole conversation right here was, you, sir, went to Simon Gratz, the same school as the great Meldrick Taylor, 1984 Olympic gold medalist. And oddly enough, Meldrick Taylor, after winning the gold medal, being guided to the gold medal by one Willie Rush, a man who trained him since he was knee-high to a grasshopper.
Right.
Meldrick Taylor ended up having to fire Willie Rush because Willie Rush didn't fit into the program of Lou Duva. Now, with that said, right, sir, it's been my observation, right? First and foremost, let's start from the top. The life of a boxer is a hard one, but the life of a boxing trainer is an even harder one, because a boxing trainer, that's a thankless job. A lot of times the pay is so minimum that even if you get a nice payday, it's most of it is back pay for the days, weeks, months, and even years for when you didn't get a dime for the fighter. And if you get one fighter that makes it, you got 20 fighters that didn't make it because they weren't serious as other guys, or they were either just bullshitting and wasting your time. So it's a thankless job. Often enough, people ask me why didn't I get into training guys, and to be perfectly honest, because it's a thankless job. I admire guys like you and Danny Davis and Fats Derek Burney, who are giving back to the youth by being boxing trainers. And again, you have to be a boxing trainer, you have to be a selfless person, and you have to have a certain love for the sport, and you have to have a certain level of altruism in you in order to give so much of your time. And in a lot of cases, you will never be compensated for the time that you get. Now, the flip side to that, sir, not to be long-winded, the great and positive influence that you impart on these young men, and in some cases today, even young women, that's invaluable. A lot of times, sir, you are the father. You are the uncle, the grandfather, in a lot of cases. So what you are doing, sir, is invaluable, and I salute you for it. So tell me what it's like, sir. How long have you been training guys? Who is your most notable fighter? And give it to me. Tell me what it's like to pass on your pearls of wisdom to these young fighters.
Well, being a fighter is great because you give the tutelage to the pupil that really wants to be a professional, or wants to be an amateur, or even wants to get in shape, and I think that they respect you for what you do and what you've done in your career, in the sport that you're in, and how you do what you do. I've been training. I retired in 2005. I took like a year off, a year and a half off, and it got boring to me. I guess this was something that I really was something vegan for me to do in my career and in my life, because when I decided that I didn't want to do it no more, I was just going to become an average guy, do average things, boxing was like, man, look, you better come on back in the gym and start helping these kids, so that's where I went. As far as being a coach, I love it. It's a headache sometimes because the whole format is different now. These guys is nothing like you and I was, Chuck, when we was coming up. So and what makes it really hard is that to some point I have to adjust to the new era of what's going on. Like, my thing is, I was talking to my dad yesterday. I'm like, Dad, I'm just so tired right now. Like, my arms is actually killing me. My arms didn't kill me like this when I was fighting.
Right.
But that's come from holding the mitts in the gym, consecutive days and times. Like, for instance, I might have a 150-pounder amateur in the gym You know, he hit the miss, but you know, he barely hit the miss right. But then at 5 o'clock, I got my professional coming in, and this joker hitting the miss hard and right. You know, and it's jugging my body all every which way but
your
loose.
joints. You feel it in your joints. Yeah.
Definitely. You know. So, but what I get out of it and I love about it is that I can teach them, man. And I think that was something that, you know, Mr. Payton, Phil Collins,
Phil Allen, sir.
I mean Phil Allen, yeah, you're right. Joe Collins, I meant to say.
Mr. Joe Collins, right.
Eddie Goodman, Al Fennell,
Roland Cooley, sir. Bowie Fisher.
My dad.
Mr. James Robinson, sir.
Johnny, sir. All those guys, you know, those guys taught.
Yeah, I'm Tony Martinez, coach. Yeah, I remember Ivan Robinson when he was first coming up. I seen him with when he fought Gotti and he fought Gotti a couple times and Chavez.
Okay.
That's the best fights I've seen.
Cool, thank you. How long have you been knowing him?
I first know him when from seeing him on TV, for real. You know, and I was training at Joe Frazier's, and I used to watch all the fights when they used to come on TV. I seen him a couple times. I knew he was from Philly, but he looked good. Then, years go by, in the 90s and 2000s, I ended up knowing his father, not even knowing that was his father. And yeah, he's a hell of a fighter, man.
I ain't no joke. I used to let the mic smoke. Now I slam it when I'm done and make sure it's broke. When I'm gone, I won't get on, cause I won't let nobody press up and mess up the scene I set. I like to stand in the crowd and watch the people wonder, damn. But think about it, then you understand. I'm just an addict, addicted to music. Maybe it's a habit, I gotta use it. Even if it's jazz or the quiet storm, I hook a beat up, convert it into hip-hop form. Write a rhyme and graffiti in every show you see me in. Deep concentration, cause I'm no comedian. Jokers are wild if you wanna be tame. I treat you like a child and you're gonna be named another enemy, not even a friend of me. Cause you'll get fried in the end when you pretend to be competing. Cause I just put your mind on pause and I complete one. You compare my mind with yours, I wake you up and as I stare in your face, you seem stunned. Remember me, the one you got your idea from. But soon you start to suffer, the tune will get rougher. When you start to stutter, that's when you had enough of fighting there to make you choke. You can't provoke, you can't cope, you should have broke because I ain't no joke.
Damn! Wow, man. You had some eventful career, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you, man.
Hey, listen, what about that time, man, when you put...
Chuck, check this out, man. I gotta go ahead and work with these kids, man. Get these kids ready for this upcoming fight that they got. I appreciate everything you done for me.
Champ, listen, do what you do, man. Love you, baby.
Love you even more, baby.
Fight, man, with Don, man, you know, hey.
A lot of learning. Yo, man, how y'all come up here with that ice cream sandwich for me?
Dad, we gonna get yours after we finish working out today, alright? I guess when we finish working out, you gonna get your ice cream. The store be closed.
I hope so.